So it is Tuesday morning. I'm running late. I'm actually ironing a shirt while I'm doing this, while I'm going to my sales meeting. So this is an eXp sales meeting. I'm watching this on my ironing board.
I'm obviously not, and so anyway, it's all good. We poke a lot of fun about it.
This is who's in the meeting.
Anyway, good morning, y'all. How is the weather in your neck of the woods? Because I hear various weather reports from different parts of the province that are quite different from what the weather is like here. So
it's raining in lovely Port McQuitlam. I see that there's lots of snow in Fort St. John.
I heard something about it. Anybody here from Fort St. John yet? Or are they all snowed in?
Snowed in means they should be here.
Oh, true, Lisa, true.
Or they're out digging out the snow.
So, how is life in PG, Lisa?
We had freezing rain over the night, but it's actually kind of warm this morning.
Warm, okay. Does that mean that you're actually above zero, or? Sorry, I'm cheeky. I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what I meant. Anything above zero is warm here.
Yeah, no, I think I'm starting to get the gist of that. My, I guess son, or my wife's son, lives in an area of PG where apparently the bears find it very interesting to walk through everybody's yard. So, and that seems to be increasing the colder it gets. So they now refer to this season as the bear season. So
in Prince George, almost every place in Prince George has a risk of a bear going through it.
Yeah, that's just one more reason that I go like, do I really? No. Linda's making all kinds of noises that she would love to live in PG, but yeah, not so much. Anyway, how is everybody doing? It is 9 o'clock, and so I want to be sensitive to your time. Thanks for being here. It is the middle of November. Wow. It's the middle of November. Just time seems to be racing by so fast. Maybe it's just me because I'm getting old, or maybe it's because we're so busy. But time sure as heck is moving along at record pace. So since we're now at 325 active agents in BC as of today, we have a lot of people in onboarding, and part of that why there's so many in onboarding is that there's a good number of people in boards that we're just not open yet, and some people have either just reached eligibility for getting their license. Some people are under contracts with their current company and so on and so forth. So they'll come as soon as they're able and eligible for it. So we should see some very active growth over the next little while as far as actually people coming on board. So, but since our last meeting, Lee, Evan, and who I talked to this morning already, and Katie, welcome aboard. It's exciting to have you with us. It's always fun to welcome new people to our organization, and if you have any questions, if anything comes up, please let us know. We're here to help and assist you. John Humphreys and myself were in conversation with some other groups in the Kamloops area. So we know that there's all kinds of exciting activities taking place. We had a fairly intense number of conversations about some group in the Lower Mainland. So there's so much going on right now in and around real estate. It's quite dynamic, quite evolving, I would say. And you're going to see some interesting moves happening, agents and real estate companies alike, over the next little while, because this happens to be that period of the year where for whatever reason, I refer to it as the silly season of real estate. Where in sports you so often see a period of time in between the active seasons. You see that period of time where all the players are being traded and transferred and whatever else, and that seems to be this time of the year for many real estate agents. And with that in mind, we want to welcome everybody. And of course, if you have people that are interested in learning more about it, just send them all to John Humphreys, because he's just dying to talk to everybody that wants to join us. Right, John?
Yeah, I'm lonely. I'm Mr. Lonely.
Okay, don't lose your day
my
job.
day job.
Keep your day
No,
job.
I'm here. Thanks, Peter and Peter. Hey, guys, yeah, I'm here for everybody, and just right. We have really some dynamic people across the board, actually right across Canada, but in particularly here in BC. There are some really awesome agents who get the vision that is eXp. Many attracted by some of the people here in this room, and it's at that point now where agents out there realize that we're the real deal, that we're not what they've heard that we are, and that we are the future of real estate. So thanks to the leadership here in British Columbia, and thanks for all of you who are giving people like myself and our brokers an opportunity to meet the people that you would like to have here at eXp with us. So yeah, it's getting pretty exciting.
It is very, very exciting. And there's so many things happening, right? I didn't even put it on the agenda, but we and the representatives of the Canadian Agent Advisory Council and Peter Talbot and Tracy have worked very, very hard to get us to a place where we now finally have an actual quote and specifics for as we speak, and we'll very soon have some more information about that. Is a T-shirt Don in the room by any chance? Any updates that they want to give about the Canadian Advisory Council and all the great work that they are doing? Not hearing or seeing anybody. I can also tell you that we're now very close on having some announcements around the Canadian and even potentially provincial charities that we can be working with and do some announcements and information sharing about that. So there's a lot of stuff happening at this moment, and there's a lot of people working very hard on and there's a lot of great stuff happening. So, want to talk about some of the talks that came up out of the Real Estate Council's audit report, and there's really kind of three specifics that the superintendent, the Real Estate Council was very adamant about. One of which is advertising. What they did is they looked at a number of our agents' websites and made observations. And in those observations, the common feedback was that the placement and the prominence of the company name was not to their satisfaction. Now, they're not actually saying, please do it this way or do it that way. They basically say, don't do it the way you're doing it. And they keep saying that. So what they're referring to constantly is this particular page on the Real Estate Council website. It's called the advertising requirements, and it is a very distinct page. And if you follow that page, most likely you will be in compliance. Not following that page may cause you to be reprimanded. And there's, like I said, there's about 8 websites of our agents that have been noted and have been pointed out to us, and we will be reaching out to those agents. But I can tell you, they only looked at so many websites. Now, the key parts to refer to is a word that they use all the time throughout all of their advertising guidelines and directions is prominent. They don't actually define what that means and how that is to be interpreted, but if you look at the definition of prominent, means standing out from. So standing out from everything else. In real estate terms, it means that if you have a website, they want the name, the brand of the company above the fold, as they say. So before you scroll, you should be able to see the name and or the logo of the company. If it's not there, they don't think it is prominent. So where I know that there's a good number of templated websites around where it is kind of the standard to have this logo sitting somewhere at the bottom of the website or the web page. That is not acceptable to council. Okay, they want to see it at the top of the banner, or in the banner, or in your banner and image, or what have you. But it needs to be visible at the top of the page. And that goes for Facebook, social media, LinkedIn, YouTube channels, you name it. And any and every post that you make, you should view as an advertisement. And I mean every post, even if it is you making a comment about somebody else's stuff, it is really can be viewed as advertising. And so if you follow this page, and I've put it in the chat box, you can't really do wrong. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. If you follow this, if you decide to go creative or follow somebody else's suggestions or recommendations, or even templates from from website providers, you most likely are not compliant because they don't care, right? We need to take a little bit more of an active and aggressive role in this. And with that in mind, we will review all the websites going forward with that. The other point that the real estate council reminded us of, and this is the second time that they had to point that out to us, is the notice of assignment. If you're doing an assignment, and we can argue what an assignment is, but in the eyes of council, an assignment is a real assignment of a total contract, but it is also the adding or the removing of a name to a contract, because you are in fact assigning an interest, and as such you are required to do a notice of assignment. Okay, there is no, it's not optional, it's a requirement. And there is additional clauses required within the body of the contract, but those additional clauses do not remove the requirement to deal with the notice of assignment. Okay, and there's a good page in the professional standards manual for this. It actually reads relatively clearly and relatively straightforward. So if we can just remind everybody to, if you do an assignment, a real assignment of a total contract, as in a pre-sales or what have you, or you're adding a buyer or removing a buyer, and both happen from time to time, that those are deemed to be assignments. Okay, and as such, a notice of assignment is required. The last one I want to touch on is referrals. Okay, referrals received or referrals paid. If you are planning to get a referral or pay a referral, distinct disclosures have made. And there was an older, actually significantly older report from council that actually articulates it quite nicely, and I would recommend that you kind of bookmark it because it's an easy to follow document, and in it there's a section that talks about disclosure of an interest in trade as well, and assignments. So there's something there that you can read up on. But the paying and receiving of referrals fees and the role of the managing broker in regard to it. But ignore the role of the managing broker in this regard. It is the requirements and the obligations to make disclosure in writing. And this applies both to licensed and unlicensed people. It doesn't matter. We're specifically talking about the receiving and sending of referrals or parties. It has to be done in writing, and there are some forms that are available either on web forms or in the BC admin forms folder. Okay, this one line here, I don't know whether I can highlight it, basically says it all, and I'll put it in the chat box. So in simplest terms, a licensee must disclose to their clients they're going to receive a referral and when they are intending to pay a referral fee. That's it. That's what council wants. So let's that to council. Now, it is a little different if you are a registered team. You have an operational working relationship between team members. That's not deemed to be a referral. You've already disclosed that working relationship in the various documents, and so the clients are aware of that working relationship already. The split between you and your team members, there is no obligation to articulate that split. The fact that there is multiple people receiving compensation is already articulated. So that's a different form of compensation arrangement. But anything that is deemed to be a referral, even internally, between people that are just kind of looking after your business while you're away or for any other purpose or reason, is deemed to be a referral. Okay? Any questions on that? Hearing none. Okay.
Peter,
yes,
sorry,
sir.
Peter. Just to jump in, don't forget on the buyer's commission disclosure, section C is about referrals that need also to be filled in. And if you're working on the listing side, line number 4, if you have a referral that's going somewhere, also has to be filled in.
Yeah, absolutely. So disclosure in writing means exactly that. It's on the disclosure of remuneration and on the seller's disclosure of expected remuneration. Those are two parts. The other parts are that there are distinct forms that also further disclose it, and they are to be used in addition to the disclosure of remuneration. Don't ask me. Have articulated that. Sorry, there was a question here by somebody. Questioned, who do you think should be responsible to initially disclose the referral? The sender or the receiver? Both. Good question. So if you send a referral to somebody in Timbuktu, and you expect a remuneration, you should identify to the client that you're sending out to a realtor that you are expecting remuneration for that. Okay. Then the person receiving the referral person, right, in their disclosure, in doing their transactions, they then need to articulate the referral that they're paying out. And by the way, that is one way in which real estate councils do audits, right? They cross-reference these things. So if the receiving referral agent has made disclosure, but the person sending the referral has not, in their audits, they will always pull those referral type transactions and then look for whether or not the people respectively have done their proper referral disclosures. So this is one of those areas in which hiding doesn't work. Okay, and in fact, it can really backfire if they find out that there is a failure to disclose. And because of the ban on dual agency, we see a whole lot more referrals taking place within communities, within offices, and so on and so forth. So making sure that we are properly documenting these is becoming more and more important, because that is exactly what the superintendent and council is looking for. Is our agents acting in a way that could be construed as trying to circumvent the ban on dual agency. We saw one in starting to show up in Fort St. John, where listing agents are now starting to write clauses in MLS notes saying that if an inquiry was made to the listing agent by any potential buyer, the buyer agent will only receive X amount of dollars. Never mind whether or not they get all of that kind of nonsense is starting to happen. And those are very distinct and blatant ways to get compensated for transactions that they may or may not be part of. And we're starting to see all these kind of weird things, and the reason for it is because nobody's actually been slapped around by the council or the superintendent under the new rules, right? We haven't seen any kind of bold publications by them, and our take on it right now is that we don't want to be the first one to be in those reports. So yes, we may be over careful and over cautious, but I think in doing so, we keep everybody here in this room and everybody within eXp in the province as safe and as protected as possible. And once we actually get some clarity from council and the superintendent as to how they interpret it and what is and what isn't acceptable in distinct ways, I think we need to proceed with caution. What we received to date from the superintendent seems to indicate that we're very much on the right track, and my compliments to all of you, because that is your work, right? They audit not our work, they audit your work. And within that, there was 4 or 5 relatively innocent situations that they identified, other than the advertising bit where they found more than what is really should happen in that regard. Anyway, I think, like I said, we are very much doing the right thing for 99.9%. And if in doubt, we continue to encourage you to ask the questions, right? Peter, Jake, self, and our transaction specialist staff. We're quite well versed in what is and what isn't going on, and we encourage you to reach out before you get yourself into a spot where you say, well, I shouldn't have gone there. We'd much rather prevent than try to fix after the fact. Okay. With that in mind, keep in mind that the new disclosure forms are now required. You can't use or start using the old ones. If you sign people to a DORTS, much earlier in the year, you can still continue to use those, although you might consider updating to the newer ones. But certainly for clients that you're starting to work with, make sure you use the new ones. As you know, we've made November kind of almost by default a compliance month, so we do put a strong emphasis on making sure that you are compliant with the Do Not Call list with FinTrack, and that the ICA is updated by the end of this month. They will be in your email box this week if you haven't already received them. And the Do Not Call list, again, it's just follow the link, and you can complete it in less than about 20 minutes, I would say. And we then register your phone numbers with the CRTC, and then you get access to the system literally overnight. It isn't instantaneous, and there is a reason for that. Like I said, that we need to register your phone numbers with the CRTC. So it is important that we follow that procedure properly. And again, with FinTrack, the ongoing requirement for all of us to be compliant with FinTrack every 2 years requires us to attend one class or another on the topic. So anyway, enough on Do Not Call Us and FinTrack. Any questions so far? Any comments, feedback, suggestions? Hearing none. Thank you for all helping out on finding the case of the missing deposit checks. I think we've got everything covered. We've got everything tracked down and found. We do really want to encourage you to start using the website that is on in the agenda. And again, this is the site right here. If it happens to be a transactional deposit, then obviously use the one that says trust. And if it is a commission deposit, then obviously you would use the other one. The records and the information that is taken from those websites immediately goes to both the conveyancing staff as well as to the payout staff. So it makes our life a lot easier. We are then able to track those deposits a little easier. We don't have to chase you down at the end of the month. It would be much appreciated if you do take a look at that and make use of those. A quick update on Transaction Desk. I may or may not have said so last week, but we are almost positive that we are going to move towards SkySlope. We are very close to formally making that announcement. It's the only few questions left have more to do with bandwidth of SkySlope and the support of SkySlope. They have made very distinct promises insofar that they will answer the phone within 2 rings, or you get a $5 gift certificate, and so on and so forth. So they're making all the right noises. They're making all the right statements and support commitments needed for us to be able to say very comfortably that yes, this is the direction that we're going. When that happens, it will roll out across the country in phases, and so it won't happen instantaneously. We'll make sure that all the bits and pieces are set up properly, and that the operations won't be interfered with in the same way that Orange 2019 seems to be doing. So, but that's very much the direction that we're going, and we hope to have the ability to give some agents temporary access and kind of test drive access to SkySlope over the next little while, and that most likely will happen between now and the end of this month. So that's where we're heading, and if there's anything drastic or dramatic that shows up, obviously we may have to make some adjustments still. So any questions on that? Okay, Katie, I'll work on that. If I have missed questions that you put up, I can't always see, because for whatever reason the font in the chat box is so small that I have a hard time seeing it on my laptop from time to time. So if there's stuff that you wanted to bring up, then please let me know. I'm more than happy to go back and answer some questions. Wanted to kind of ask about social events, social calendars. I know that there's a number of areas, boards that have announced or have invited people to participate in a seasonal social. So I'm aware of Nanaimo. I'm aware of the Okanagan. Is there other boards? Is there other groups that are interested in organizing something? Other groups that have organized things but haven't really made it known to the rest of us. Anybody want to speak to the topic, please? Peter, any comments, thoughts?
No, I haven't really looked into anything this year just yet. We would need to get a room like the event that was held a couple of weeks ago, that size, to hold the cast of 300 for the 325 for the province.
I wouldn't mind having some get-together somewhere in, between now and Christmas with the people here in the valley, or with the people from Vancouver to the valley, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are interested in getting together. We need some help from the people within those areas to assist us. There's like I said, there was some Kerry in the Okanagan has set up a dinner. I know that. And I can't remember who, but somebody in the NIMO was putting something together. We will gladly assist in some way, shape, or form. We have a little bit, little bit of a budget to help out financially. Don't expect that we can foot the bill. It's just not going to happen. We're not that kind of company, but we will support it to some degree. And
can we find out if there's 2 or 3 of us in the room that would be willing to organize this?
Yeah. Sorry, who was talking?
Janelle.
Oh, hi, Janelle.
Hi.
So this is, Janelle, you are in the Fraser Valley, right?
Yep, so I'm willing to help out if we can get 2 or 3 more people in Vancouver. Anybody from Vancouver?
Humper, are you coming over?
I'm not sure if Talbot will let me on the Lower Mainland or not. I have to check with him. Hey guys,
I know, that's a
Peter
questionable thing.
Yeah. But all kidding aside, is Peter Fan and I are all about being together with everybody wherever and whenever we can. We always like traveling together. We get a lot of things covered in conversation as well as a few laughs together. So yeah, I know Peter's got his hands full. We all do in leadership. However, I'm always willing to lend a helping hand, and would love to get over there.
Great. It looks like Trudy, Annie, Sherry Dirksen, and myself can do that.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and start a workplace chat with those people. And if you want to include me in there, wherever I can, a lending hand or voice, I'm happy to do so.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Yeah,
Okay, you're welcome.
and just add Jake and Peter and myself to your group so that we can kind of help out with some information and resources that we may have access to, and that goes for any group anywhere in the province, right? I'll gladly come to any event wherever it is. And as John says, it gets relatively hard for us to be organizing these events in the local communities. For one, we don't always know the best venues, and you may have some contacts, and in fact that may help your business in the future as well. So we're certainly willing and actually very excited to participate in these events. It's just time is of the essence at this point in time. We certainly want to be there if and when we can. I know that there's some events planned in, like I said, in Okanagan. I heard something was going on in BC Northern. Lisa, did I see that right in one of your chats in the BC Northern group? And then I also believe that there was some organization going on in the Nanaimo and Vancouver Island group.
I haven't heard of the Nanaimo one yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, and then maybe it was just wishful thinking. Something was mentioned. While you're there, Don, you want to give any updates on the Canadian Agent Advisory Council?
Well, we're meeting after this meeting. So we actually have prices now, bids on the healthcare extended health and benefits plan. So we're going to be going over that this afternoon. As far as how we're going to deliver that to our agent owners and what that's going to look like. So we will have a report after today. So you got me again an hour early.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. Anything else? I wanted to bring up the superintendent of real estate called Reframing the Role of Managing Brokers. This is actually a fairly extensive report, and it's one that I think you might want to take a read on and see what your thoughts are. Certainly the superintendent is encouraging feedback from everybody in the industry because, of course, it affects all of us in some fashion or another. So if you have the time to have a look at it, it is on this superintendent's website. It is a little bit hidden, but it's there. And I would certainly encourage you to submit your feedback. I know that some of the real estate boards are in fact organizing meetings with the membership about those those recommendations and the report. So you certainly have an opportunity to share your opinions within those. And I think it is going to be a starting point as to what the future of real estate in BC might look like over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And with that in mind, I think it is important to all of us here in the room and everybody that is not here but still is involved in real estate, organized real estate or otherwise. And so I would encourage you to spend some time on that. Okay, it is now 9:30ish. I would love to be able to say that I want to give everybody a voice and an opportunity to speak. So let's see, is there anything in the room, any topic, any information, any agenda item or anything else that you want to raise, bring up? What is important to you? What do you want to talk about? I don't hear you, Amy. There's a lot of echo.
I don't know what's wrong with the microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
No, I can't hear you. Just a second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry about that. The link that you had mentioned regarding reframing the role of managing brokers, where can we find that link?
I'm going to pull it up right now.
Okay, thanks.
Also, just a quick aside to that, please keep in mind, when and if you go in and take a look at all of the items they're talking about, this is not happening overnight. As Peter had said, this is several years down the road, especially one of the ones regarding, was it the single realtor, Peter?
Single licensing, yeah.
Yeah, single licensing. That to me is just atrocious, but that's just my opinion.
You guys got to remember some of these changes that they're proposing under the new council rules or the brokerage rules. A lot of those items are going to require changes to RESA, and anytime you're dealing with changes to that, it certainly does take started.
Try that again, Jake. Lost you.
Thank you.
So there's the link. Sorry, Jake, I'm not sure whether you're still talking, but I can't actually hear you. Anybody else can hear Jake?
No, I can't either.
Okay. So
I keep hearing Cal, but I can't hear Jake at all.
Okay.
And so you should keep hearing me, John.
The weather in Chilliwack.
Yeah, the weather in Chilliwack. The man on the mountain, right? So there's a link to the page on the superintendent's website. And Jake is quite correct, as is Peter, that this is not a quick fix type document. In fact, if you read it a couple of 3 times, you get a little bit of an idea that this might become a bit of a roadmap for them to work under. But certainly the single licensing, even if it were to ever happen, it is 10, 15, maybe 20 years down the road, because the implementation of it would require so many structural different changes in the industry that it's not going to happen overnight. Now I see somebody's hand up, and I see the hand, but I don't see who's underneath the hand. So if you want to speak up, please. Blake, hand up.
Hi, Peter. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Hey, everybody. I just, every once in a while, we push out the link to the petition to change the, I guess, for lack of a better word, governance of the Real Estate Council. Just real quick, just to refresh everybody that you don't know, because of the way council is made up, 16 members, largely non-real estate. Marlene last year had an issue where we believe that due to the makeup of council, the lack of knowledge, and the fact that council is needing to blow through the complaints as fast as they are, we thought this really should draw attention to the fact that in the long run, we should come up with a nonpartisan effort as a real estate industry to ask the government of BC to appoint only real estate industry related people. I think that we can make it nonpartisan. I think it's critical to the protection of all realtors going forward. The reason I bring this up again today is we just finished the legal update, and in reading the legal update that council sent us shows us more than ever before how they erred in pressuring Marlene into signing a consent order. They didn't follow their own rules on how the public is supposed to handle their own business. So please sign the petition. Please share it with 10 members of your friends. The hope is that we can come up with a nonpartisan presentation. The plan is the petition, if we can get 25,000 members or so of the public and realtors to sign it, the plan is we're going to give it to BCREA or our brokers collectively so they can go to the government and say, hey guys, can we work a little bit together on this? Not wanting to make a fight, just be fair. Blake out.
Blake out. Right on, Blake. You've heard me say this before, but and I argue this with every real estate board that I meet with or talk to, is that we currently are lacking a voice, right? As an industry, BCREA is supposedly our voice to help us in ensuring that we are treated fairly, equitably, and whatever else. But for some reason or another, BCREA has very much lost their influence and their place in real estate to do that. And real estate boards have become completely quiet about just about anything. I feel strongly that there is a need to have a voice as an industry from the petitioner's point of view, and rather than from public opinion or real estate council or superintendent. So, and that doesn't have to be adversarial or confrontational. It just needs to be equitable in a way that makes sense and is balanced to the point where we all have the ability to be represented in an appropriate manner. So the petition is up there. If you care to have a good look at it, then yes, we would certainly encourage people to have a hard look at it. And at the same time, like so many of us, become known and seek a higher profile within your community, within your board, within your real estate professional associations and what have you. And that way we can be sure to look after our industry and our peers throughout the province and possibly beyond. And this is a good time to take note of that, because so many boards are in the process of either seeking re-election of their board of directors, or are seeking volunteers or committee members and what have you. CREA is offering excellent leadership training, and for the most part that's made available free in most boards. In some boards they charge for it. There are some opportunities for all of us to step up and be the leaders that we obviously are. We take a slightly different approach to real estate. That doesn't mean we're confrontational or mean or miserable. We tend to be a little bit more visionary, as we are collectively here with eXp Realty, right? Just by the fact that we're here means that we have taken a slightly different approach to our industry, and that's not always, a bad thing. Frankly, there's many things that we can improve upon in our industry, and you and I can all have a voice in that. So, Blake, I appreciate your initiative in putting the petition forth, and all of us can help in one way or another to make this the best industry that it can possibly be, and make us all proud, right? It's that time in that industry that that voice needs to be heard. So, thanks so very much. Is there anything else that you want to bring up at this point in time? Any other comments, feedback, suggestions?
Sure. I would like to share with the BT team. I know I've talked to a lot of you individually. This is Katie. I'm in the Valley, and I'm helping agents with their administrative type work. So if you have any transactions or listings and accepted offers you'd like to get in to transaction desk and it confuses you, just reach out to me. I can help. We do charge for this service, so I can help. You have to pay for it, but I sure can do it here. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Eddie. Alrighty. We've got whatever it is, 6 weeks to
Lewis.
the end of the hard work. This is the time of the year that you really can set your 2020 in motion. I can honestly say that whatever you do between now and the end of the year will very much have an impact on what your 2020 is going to look like. So I encourage you to take a bit of inventory, a bit of stock as to what your marketing plan looks like, what your activities look like, how your interactions with your clients and prospects is like, and have a little fun with it. Obviously, the season helping you, because there's all kinds of opportunities to connect with your community in many different ways. I'll be marshalling a parade, and that's my way. I'll be turkeys in our community kitchens, and so on and so forth. So there's all kinds of opportunities to be participating. I'll give you a call after the meeting. And John Humphreys, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just thought I'd share a few thoughts with everybody. One of the things that I've noticed over the recent past is social media postings, whereby some of us proud eXpers or experts are sharing the vision that is eXp. And perhaps one thing I'd like to caution everybody on is, let's share our differences, but I think it's advised to post other brokerages' names. I just think we're just opening ourselves up for criticism. I think it's poking the bear. I think we're all happy to be here. We're all happy to perhaps have made that change from our previous brokerage to our present one. And like I said earlier, I think it's just ill-advised to drop names of other brokerages when we're comparing who we are and what we're all about, or when we're stating who we are and what we're all about. So I just would say, let's keep it classy, and let's not open ourselves up for undue criticism by pointing out what we perceive as the failures of other brokerages, or perhaps the shortcoming. So I just wanted to share that. I just think we can be classier in some instances, and I'd encourage us all to do so.
Yeah, that's a very good point, John. Anything you say will be used against you, right? This is kind of the reality of the Miranda rights, so to speak. So you got to be careful in what you say, how you say it, when you say it, where you say it, because inevitably others will use it as ammunition, and it's a real balancing act. That yes, you want to be free to say and share your opinion, but in the process you can do a lot of damage to yourself and others, and that you regret. So the sleep on it rule is a good one. If you hear or see something that you are particularly offended by, don't respond. Just sleep on it, and then the next day you share your somebody that you respect and get their feedback and thoughts on it, and then you probably will come to the conclusion that, well, maybe it isn't worth the aggravation, or maybe we need to approach it in a different way. And we have, in some cases, now decided to take some legal action against some of the comments that are out there. But just let us do this together as a collective. And John is quite right.
Also, if I can segue into another topic that's been coming up lately for us in leadership, is just attraction. How we attract, who we attract, and why one person is a sponsor as compared to another. I know that we're working on the pledge, the Canadian pledge, to make things a little bit more clearer for us. However, I just want everybody to know that we are experiencing some situations where people are reaching out to us in leadership saying, hey, you know what, I spent a lot of time and effort to speak to someone about why I'm enjoying it so much here at eXp, and why I think it would be something that would fit into their life and lifestyle and business plan. And then other people are kind of stepping in to perhaps give them reasons why they should be a sponsor. So I know we're going to get a lot more clarity on it moving forward, but one of our core values is ethics and doing the right thing. And I think we all know what that means and what that looks like, because for the most part, we've all been in this business for a while, and we all know what the code of ethics is, and the code of ethics talks about doing the right thing. So you'll be hearing more about this moving forward. However, I just wanted to voice that here in this meeting, because I know that the BC eXp real estate crew is pretty sophisticated, pretty educated, and we're growing in numbers pretty quickly. So in order that we can enjoy this culture that we're building, not only here in BC, but right across Canada, I just really want to encourage you all, just do the right thing and do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I think you all know what that looks like. So just wanted to share that with you this morning.
Alrighty. Is there anything else that we want to touch on? There's some comments flying back and forth, I suppose. Like I said, I 100% agree. Yeah, it's the pledge, whether we have a Canadian one or the existing American one, really speaks to golden rule, right? That's, I mean, if you just live, not just use it as a slogan, but if you live the golden rule, you pretty much know to treat others, right? It's that simple. Having said that, yes, we will have some additional guidelines and directives on the topic. So with that, I've got to tend to. I hope you all have a fantastic week. I would like to encourage you to participate with whatever it is that you want to participate as far as social events, holiday events, community events within your board and within the region. We are definitely interested in getting together during this season with you all. And unlike what some of our peers and competitors think, we are actually very available, very reachable. As always, looking forward to your questions to prevent anything from going off the track. So have a fantastic week, and call it within the lines. Have fun now.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, and thanks, Peter Talbot.